I thought I left it at work.
I just like how it's been over a week and it hasn't moved remotely.
Well, I wish I were lucky if I lost something and it just stayed in place.
I stole someone's sunglasses at work. I'm kidding.
Is this your confession now, huh? You want to turn
Hey.
this into something different?
After 2 weeks, the lost and found bin, it goes up for grabs.
It's like Pawn Stars or whatever, that other show.
Call me a porn star.
Welcome to the Schmucks of the Galaxy.
I didn't even realize you started.
That'll be every episode.
Just disclaimer, I do not steal from my workplace.
Episode 1.
This is episode 2.
And no,
We did episode 1.
that was episode 0.
What the fuck?
You're disgusting. I am your moderator and aspiring conqueror of lizard people, Toby Wintergrad.
God, I can't beat that.
Yeah, you can if you try hard enough.
Okay.
I am
fine.
Zach Chicken Stew.
There we go. Fine, Toby. I'm Ben, actual conqueror of lizard people.
See, there you go. You actually see if you try hard enough. That's the moral of today's episode. If you try hard enough.
Actually, I want to be Lampoog the Bone Splicer.
Okay, I take it back. The moral of the story is to
So sometimes you need to stop trying.
yes. So today we're going to talk about the best movie of all time, Transformers: The Last
You know
Night.
what's sad, Ben? I didn't even make up that name.
I'm afraid of where that is from.
Shadow of Mordor. You know how they...
Oh, yeah!
There's that one war chief that's literally...
Lampoon the Bone
Yeah,
Slicer.
and everyone's shouting, Lampoon! Lampoon!
So
and you're
really
like,
quick,
oh no.
that game, so they could have the dumbest name. Like, their name could be, Syphilis, and all their followers go, Syphilis, 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 Bone Splicer. And as you're fighting, and it's the most distracting thing.
It's almost as bad as some of the names that these robots have. in
They
this
all
movie.
sound like the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
Oh my god, can we talk about Transformers 5 for Christ's
No
sake?
one wants to talk
We're
about Transformers 5.
Well, we spent money on it, and we're going to make that money feel like it was well spent, and we're going to vent about it. How do we feel about Transformers: The Last Night?
Well, I'm really glad I went for the large popcorn for that movie because it really just kept me invested the whole time.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I
That
got
was-
more food
oh
than
my
I
God.
usually do in movies. Even I, going in, was like, I need more food than usual to power through this.
It was a rough ride.
They're way too long. It's like they should only be like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. But instead, Michael Bay
It was what, 2.5?
decides to make them 3.5 fucking hours.
I wonder how, less the budget would be had they cut out a half an hour or an hour of
The movie would have been better, a lot.
Well,
More.
they could've-
Forget quality. I want to know how much money the studio would have saved had they
Uh-huh.
not
They
filmed
had
that much.
to rent
of-
out the
that much
castle.
film.
They could have cut out the whole castle,
Absolutely.
and that would have saved them a shit ton of money. They created a replica round table with lights and shit with
Right.
CGI. They could have cut that out.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that happens in these movies is just a bunch of people sitting in a conference room and being like, okay, we need to make another Transformers movie. But what is going to be in the trailer that's going to make people want to see it?
Castles!
So last time we did the thing
Oh
we
my
didn't
God,
do.
you're right.
We did dinosaurs.
They don't think about the movie
We did-
first. They think about the trailer first.
We did dinosaurs. Okay, so how can we take it even further?
Optimus
We're gonna
Prime
have
goes bad.
the planets hitting each other. Optimus Prime is going to turn evil.
Yeah.
And King Arthur and Hitler had stuff to do with Bumblebee and the Transformers.
Don't forget Shia LaBeouf being related to
Shia LaBeouf is related to Harriet Tubman and King Arthur, which is the weirdest fucking lineage in
But
fictional
the way
history.
that they picked the worst photo of him, they're like, yes, the ancient order of the Witwickens. We had Hitler, Anthony Hopkins, Mussolini, and then it's like Shia LaBeouf, and it
That's-
shows
yeah.
him on crack, and it's like, well,
Really? To me, it looked like a really bad photo of him taken during the Even Stevens era of his career.
I felt like they took.
So
it
does that mean
after.
the Even Stevens Transformers cinematic universe exists? And we just confirmed that. You heard it exclusive.
Time travel.
Time travel. What?
I wouldn't put it past Michael Bay.
I mean, has any of his movies included time travel yet?
I feel like they have, but they definitely haven't.
A
That's
lot
the
of them-
only other place that Transformers has to go.
The only commonality all his movies have are explosions, guns, and a lot of the time, not always, meteors, comets.
True.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny. Isn't
every
it, now that you think about
Transformers
it?
movie has something crashing into Earth.
Yep. And then
Every single
yeah.
movie.
Yep.
Man, you're already exhausted just talking about Transformers.
There's just honestly, it was really long, but if you put it in like a timeline of like exactly what happened, it would be a really short. It would be like 5 bullet points, but they stretched it for like 3 hours. Because honestly, it's just the beginning. Marky Mark meets Spanish girl who doesn't show up again until the end. They go to London. Everything explodes, and then there's the final battle. Like that's basically it. There's
Wait,
nothing.
they went to London?
Shut up.
No, I'm serious. We saw this movie. When did they go to London?
They went to London.
Are you
Like
serious?
half the movie takes place there.
Half the movie takes place in London.
Sadly,
Half the
yeah.
movie takes
Toby,
place on a crashing
Toby,
Cybertron. Where was
The
I?
entire second act is in London.
Wait, with a castle?
Yeah, and then they're on the streets when they're running away from
Yeah, that was in London.
someone who they.
I just thought that took place in a castle.
Where is the castle, Toby?
I don't fucking think of these questions because Michael Bay doesn't either.
Damn it, Cogman.
Let's talk about Cogman, everyone's favorite C-3PO.
No, honestly,
King.
the fucking part where he's
Yeah.
playing the organ and he starts singing opera was the greatest thing I have ever
Again,
seen.
he's literally C-3PO.
But he's more of a douche.
joined Kingsman's Secret Service is exactly what he is.
That's the worst sentence I've ever heard. In
But
my
is it
entire
right?
life. It's right, and
It's
that's what's
true.
dangerous about it.
But then he did a shit ton of cocaine.
What about when he slapped the fish? I fucking love
That was
shit.
fucking. What the hell
did he
was up
slap
with that?
the fish?
Remember when he dives out of the submarine and he comes with 2 giant fishes and then they start like flapping?
Yeah.
Then he starts
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
roundhouse kicking these fishes
No, okay,
and
but
turns
wait.
them into sushi.
Wait, let's talk about that because he ejects himself from the sub
Like a missile.
without telling them, and they're like, "Oh shit, our guide is gone." Comes back with fish, slaps the fish in the face, makes dinner.
I have a question.
He makes dinner.
That
and
brings
then
me
that's
to another
it.
question.
And the world is about to
Yeah.
end, and this fucking robot is
Right.
like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna launch
Let's
out
have
of
an awkward date.
Wait, guys, can I just point this out? I can understand like a reason as to why the Transformers can speak English is because they can scan,
Mhm.
I don't know, anything for some reason.
They're
learn it.
robots.
The robots, okay, work good enough for me. Why do they have like? How come there are no female Transformers?
There are. It's just that
They're
they're
not
not,
in it.
in this movie ever.
I
They're
know
not
in
in
the
any
sort.
of them.
No,
Okay,
no.
that's not true. They're in
No,
the
there are
sec-
female
there are
Transformers.
in the second one, but then they kill them. They don't have it. Okay, RC is like the most iconic female Transformer. She's a motorcycle. She has no lines, and in the end of the movie, she gets blown up in like the climax.
Wow.
We're talking about Fast and the Furious. Or
I
Transformers?
fucking wish, because then at least we'd have a couple Vin Diesel
No,
jokes.
honestly, that happens in Fast and the Furious. Like, there's like 3 female characters, and one of them gets shot. One of them got fired because Paul Walker died, and then there's just Michelle Rodriguez.
Wait. What about Can we also?
I like the
address-
idea that the studio fires an actress because someone else died.
Well, no, she played
That's
his
pretty
wife.
awesome.
So
No,
there
his
was
sister.
no.
Oh wait, no, you're
No,
right.
his wife, and then
His wife
there was
and
no
Vin
point in
Diesel's sister,
keeping her,
right.
so they just were
Guys,
like,
how do the Transformers have fucking accents? I don't understand.
That's
that.
your one question.
That's
They're
one of my many.
robots that can.
But why
Earth
would
is
they-
Unicron. And that's your
But like, why would they
robots
choose?
in disguise.
The Earth being Unicron thing was also interesting as well.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Well, they've done that in one of the shows before.
But they didn't do it well in this. Like,
No, I actually.
they revealed it, but it was only like no one gave a shit unless you were a fan of like I didn't know who Unicron was. I was like, is there gonna be a unicorn transformer Earth bullshit? Like
I'd be down for that.
they
honestly.
had a lot of fan service, but it was literally like you had to like know the specific
Right.
like the specificity blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
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 You
Yeah.
have to know Transformers lore to get it, you know?
Right, and I do get it.
But it's
and
not
what
everything though.
Well, it's
like,
not for, like,
most movies.
casual.
It's not for casuals.
It's not
I can
for
confirm,
casuals.
as someone who was into Transformers lore, those were the moments that actually were entertaining and made me happy.
Yeah, like
Even though I wish this was a genuinely good franchise and these characters were done like complete justice, just hearing the words Unicron spoken out loud in a movie theater like sent chills down my spine. Because Unicron is the Thanos, the devil of the Transformers universe.
But they didn't. They tried to establishing it as a threat when they didn't show it or give any context.
I think that's the reason, because they're setting him up for the next
Okay,
one.
but focus on the fucking movie that you're writing.
I
now.
know, but listen, I'm not defending this movie. I know
what you mean.
No, I'm just telling you like what I think they were thinking.
Here's
Like they're setting up
Yeah.
Unicron for the third movie, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole crux of this
The
movie
sixth
is
movie.
yeah, six. well, no, Bumblebee's getting a spin-off movie in the
Are you
1980s.
No, he's
and then
not.
we're getting Transformers.
I want to see the
6.
Bumblebee one where he fights Hitler.
I'd actually watch that movie in a heartbeat.
And then kills him with the pocket watch.
Inglourious Bastards with Transformers? Fuck yeah, I'd love that. I'm not even joking. I would fucking love that movie.
You know, going on
That's
that,
the one thing
yeah.
Quentin Tarantino has not touched yet. Robots. Continue.
Yeah, going on that thing you were talking about regarding them not showing us Unicron, really, or whatever. The thing is like, if there was another director at the helm and the Transformers movies had a different tone, them not showing you until a later movie would have worked.
I don't know
because
if
it's Michael Bay, whose like emphasis is on showing you everything.
Yeah.
For him to not show something, while I understand the reasoning,
They probably couldn't afford
hurts
it.
the movie.
No.
Honestly, they probably couldn't afford to do a whole CGI Unicron.
No, here's the thing. I agree that they could have maybe talked about it more.
Just because that reveal meant nothing.
Yeah, but I think the whole crux of the movie was the reason why Cybertron was colliding with Earth was because that's how they kill Unicron. Now, granted, that didn't mean anything because they only focused on Earth is going to be destroyed.
They didn't even really explain what it was.
They only explained Unicron is inside the Earth. How? Why? Okay, never mind. Let's move on. Like, they didn't explain it. But from someone who understands Transformers, just forget all the bullshit. Unicron is a character that, even though he's the main villain of the original animated movie, I feel like if they were to do him in live action, which is what they're doing, he's literally inferiorly too big of a character to do in one movie. Because he's literally a planet-sized character.
Well, they did Ego, except that I guess he was personified.
Okay,
He was personified.
We need to talk about that. Ego is a bitch compared to Unicron.
He's a whole planet, though.
Yeah, so is Unicron.
I know, but I'm saying...
And Unicron transforms into a robot.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Unicron is a fucking
I was saying they did a
transformer.
whole planet as a character in Guardian... Why am I forgetting? Guardians of the Galaxy.
We're just doing...
So they could do it. They just... I don't know.
Yeah, but they didn't fight the planet. They fought the brain of the planet inside the planet.
Yeah.
I'm talking about externally, the planet is the entity.
Okay.
Not the planet is like the cocoon for the brain.
Gotcha.
Like, Unicron is a full-sized planet-eating planet transformer.
I have a bunch of issues, but like the one... Shut up! My biggest thing, though, with the Transformers series is I don't remember ever seeing why Optimus and Megatron hate each other. And I know why, because I'm familiar with Transformers, but like, I'd rather see the fall of Cybertron than anything that they've put out.
I really recommend you play the video games then.
But they like, when Optimus goes back to Cybertron in this one, and he's like, what happened to my world?
Isn't that the plot to Superman Returns?
Yeah, well, he's like, he goes back
it's
to...
true.
Basically. He
Yeah,
goes back
Kevin
to
Spacey abducts Lois Lane. Absolutely.
He goes back to Cybertron, he's like, what happened? And I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what it looked like to begin with.
But doesn't that remind you of Superman Returns, where in the beginning Superman goes to Krypton, sees that it's been destroyed or whatever?
Did that happen? I don't remember Superman.
Yeah, that exactly happened. And I was
Why
like,
would he
wow.
go back? Doesn't Kryptonite come from the destroyed Krypton? And isn't that just standing on a giant pile of Kryptonite?
Yeah.
Isn't it only dangerous when it comes to Earth?
No.
The thing is on the planet, what it does to Superman is they're all normal. Like, they're all human on the planet. They don't have powers. But when he's away from Kryptonite, that's when near the sun, that's when he has powers. So the thing is, it's not necessarily bad for him. It just makes him normal. If that makes sense.
Even though they always present it when he sees Kryptonite, he's like,
oh! Whoa!
Yeah, all it really does is make you normal, yeah.
He's like
I'm human!
like
it's not
like he just pulled a muscle in his abdomen or something.
Yeah, it like weakens him, but it doesn't hurt him. You know?
Right.
I don't know.
I
Maybe
never
I'm
liked
wrong. I
Superman.
feel like I'm missing some details. I'm sure about it being poisonous or whatever.
I don't
Something like
remember.
But anyways, so what's important? Okay, as someone who understands
That
Transformers
relationship was never established.
lore, to
It
be
was just
fair
like,
though,
here's Megatron.
in the cartoons, it's not even talked about until an episode that is just a flashback. That's just an episode.
Which is fine, but like I feel like those two actors are good enough to like be convincing. Like for this one, there's just no time put into that. So I'm like, why? Stop?
Like they don't
stop fighting. Why do you,
the thing,
they don't seem like they care.
The thing is, they don't really take the time to establish the conflict. They're just like, oh, it's good guys versus bad guys.
Yeah.
And 5 movies in, you don't really care about the characters. You're just like expecting explosions.
Megatron didn't even need to be in this.
You know what's funny is The Simpsons made fun of Transformers in a Treehouse of Horror.
I do remember that.
It was really funny, and in the middle of the fight, the Autobots and Decepticons, I think it's Optimus Prime and Megatron look at each other, and they're like, "Wait, why are we fighting? Like, do you even remember what we're fighting about?" And the other one's like, "No." So he's like, "Why don't we just enslave the Earth together?" And then they enslave the world. And what's sad is that, thanks to that episode, whenever I watch anything Transformers, the thought that I have is like, why don't they just set aside their differences and make this the new Cybertron?
But for real, I was sitting there and I'm like, can they just stop fighting each other?
Okay,
there's more shit going
Also,
on.
when did Megatron change like how he looks so drastically? Like I knew he had changed
had
throughout the movies, but he
keeps
looked
changing
totally
appearance
different.
every movie, which is
but
annoying.
But he had what was weird.
He really looked different here.
Yeah.
What was the?
I thought he looked the coolest, but it's still annoying.
No, he looked cool, but I didn't know it was him.
Every
until they
other
said his
character's movie is every character's aesthetic is consistent except for Megatron.
No, but what's weird? So did you notice what's her name who mind controlled Optimus?
Quintessa.
Yeah. So Quintessa, when she controlled him, he had like the red mark on his face.
Yeah.
So Megatron had the same mark, but his eyes were the same, and like they never addressed that.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they both. It was like the right side of their face had like a red like thing, and then when Bumblebee was like, "Hey, buddy," and Optimus was like,
I have a question.
"That voice."
Can we just
the
point
red
that
mark
out?
went away.
Right.
I thought his voice wasn't like. I thought he didn't get his voice back because he ripped it out earlier in the movies when his voice randomly came
I'm pretty
up.
sure they
What happened?
said in a few couple movies back that his voice box was damaged or destroyed.
Oh, so it comes
and
back when it's convenient.
Yes, it is a plot. It
It's
is
a
a plot
point.
device.
That whole side plot, like, why was Steve Buscemi in this movie?
Again, I didn't even realize it was Steve Buscemi when the junkyard robot.
Yeah,
That's who he was.
because he comes and he's like, "Hey, fellow Transformers," and I was like, "Fuck you."
John Goodman was fun, but he also. I
now
felt like
that you mentioned that it was him, I realized.
I felt like his character was pretty painful to watch as
That's
well.
why I didn't think about it. I wish John DiMaggio was in
Literally,
it. I love him.
literally every scene with John Goodman is them going, "Look, John Goodman's fat," and he goes, "No, I'm not."
I got a lot of bullets.
Yeah, and then he's like, "I'm not fat. I just got a lot of bullets. Let's shoot everything."
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's it. That's his whole personality. There's no, I don't know.
And they didn't need the little girl.
No, they didn't.
You know
She's
what's-
just a bookend for like the beginning and the end of the movie.
You know what's
She
sad?
didn't do anything.
No, I agree.
She literally didn't do anything.
And then she's like, "I'm not leaving you," to like that one robot who has no lines in the movie. And
Yeah,
The one with like the retarded arm.
it was basically.
No, the one who has like rocks for backs.
I don't know what you're.
Oh, the one that's in it for 3 seconds and is like,
And then he gets
"You
shot.
must go.
And then
My power is street back." Ah! And then he dies.
Yeah.
Dude, they set up
Man,
that
I
girl.
really wish I could watch movies the way you do.
Wait, guys! They set up that girl to be like a really cool character in the very beginning.
I actually liked her.
And I liked her
she
too,
did a
and I
good
thought
job.
she was going to be really cool. And then
Oh
all
my
of a sudden,
God.
not only did they not use her, but they replaced her with basically like a random supermodel chick.
They should have gotten rid of her and just had the little girl.
Yeah,
do it,
and she
carry
did
on.
nothing. All she did was like call Mark Wahlberg like a fucking stupid American for half the
Yeah.
movie. He takes his shirt off once, and then she falls in love with him.
Oh, man
She's
titties.
ass.
Yum, yum,
Yeah.
yum.
Oh my god.
Cogman.
You know, it's
Wow.
do you guys notice that too? She's like, I hate him. Then he takes his shirt off, and she's like, oh.
Oh, I guess we're going to kiss later in this movie because you have abs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Granted, I have to give Michael Bay credit.
Honestly, he didn't
for
sexualize the female.
Well, I have to give him credit for sexualizing one of his male stars finally.
Yep.
Thank you, Michael Bay, for making us men feel represented in your movies.
The whole movie, though, honestly, and he filmed it with IMAX cameras, but the whole movie...
Oh my god, can we please talk about that?
Okay, wait. I found a letter that the Paramount sent to projectionists, and it says, and like I'm reading it exactly, and it says the aspect ratio setting on your projector should be set to a standard 1.85 flat. Much of Transformers The Last Night was filmed with IMAX cameras. So not the whole movie was filmed with IMAX cameras, just parts.
Right.
So it says, during playback, the picture will occasionally change from letterbox to non-letterbox. This was intentional by the filmmaker. So basically, they had to send a letter to projectionists saying, someone made a weird fucking choice to have the aspect ratio change every 5 seconds. It's not your fault. Right here.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
We thank you in advance for your attention to this matter, and we wish you a long and successful run.
I feel like that's Paramount in the most professional way
I
possible.
don't think they knew. They were like, "Oh shit!" Like,
They're
someone
like,
fucked
man.
everything.
In the background, Michael Bay's dick is just clapping.
Ew.
Aspect ratio. Aspect ratio.
I just felt like someone kept flicking a switch on sound and be like, and now we're going back to this one. And we're going back to this one. And we're going back to
It was
this
just
one.
such a.
Yeah, right.
It was just like I really couldn't tell if it was a projection problem.
No,
or
it was-
intentional. But now it's
'Cause if
clearly
you-
intentional.
if you watch the trailers, it happens in the trailers too.
But why?
Because they filmed like half the movie in IMAX and half in not. I don't know why.
They should have just. I think they probably filmed all the action sequences with IMAX cameras.
Well, here's the thing. Christopher Nolan does something similar where he shoots
the
all
entire
of his...
Dark Knight.
Well,
was,
not the whole movie, but he shoots all of them big action set pieces with IMAX cameras. Like this,
But they don't change
like
the aspect ratio. Like
well,
the scene
they do.
well, the
but
scene
it's the
in-
whole sequence.
Yeah, the
not-
sequence in Dark Knight where he goes into when they're in China.
Yeah.
That was IMAX. Those were IMAX.
And
cameras.
same with the chase scene, and same when he's fighting the Joker in that abandoned building. Like, it's
Yeah.
all in IMAX, and the aspect ratio changes.
But it's
But
not.
it's for that entire sequence.
So you don't usually. I mean,
So it
I
feels
don't.
more natural.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
don't-
you
I was
barely,
gonna
you
say-
only notice it if you're, like, looking for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, but in Transformers, it's like every other shot.
It's for no reason. I don't
Every
know why.
other cut, it's the different aspect
Well,
ratio.
they're probably what it looks like. What they did was they had, like, let's say they had 2 cameras. One of them was an IMAX camera, and then the other one was a normal camera.
Right.
And it was even for dialogue. The editor was just like, I don't really like the IMAX shot. Let's do this one, and it was just changed back and forth.
I feel so bad for the editor of this movie. I feel like he must have really confused himself, let alone the audience, because
It was
just so
really
fucking
distracting.
irritating.
And it wasn't like it was once. It was throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. And it was fucking distracting.
The most distracting part of the movie was that Decepticon that was a straight up stereotype, and all he did was
Which
try to make-
one?
Which one? The Mohawk one?
Yeah, the Mohawk one that basically kept trying to freestyle rap the whole movie.
And then he gets blown up the second scene he's in.
Yeah, well,
And his
it was
head's
like,
still talking.
It was like the
Yeah.
other black one, the black Transformers from...
Skids and Mudflap.
Was that the second one?
Why do I know their names? Yes.
I hate
Yeah, how do you know their names?
Because I'm a Transformers lover, okay?
But the
I
thing-
love it.
the
Even
thing-
the
They were
garbage
terrible
parts.
in the movie.
I agree.
The thing that hurt me during that montage... Well, okay, the movie turns into Suicide Squad.
Oh my god.
And, like,
Yeah,
some, of
right?
the ones, some of the ones they brought up looked really cool. And then,
Right.
like, the Asian guy was like, nah, we can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. But you can have this racist giant thing. And he's like, no! And he's like, okay, we'll have to take it.
Yeah, Megatron wants the Decepticon that looks at humans and says, say hi to your wife for me.
That whole plan made no sense. No, the government's like, yes, we'll use Megatron to help us find the fuck were they looking for?
The staff.
King Arthur's left nipple.
Quintessa's staff of life.
It was Merlin's staff.
Merlin's...
Get it fucking
no,
right.
it was Merlin's staff of Quintessa's staff of Cybertron's staff of Life's staff.
I'm just gonna call it Merlin's staph infection.
Well, Stan,
Ew.
So they were like,
Yeah.
we'll use Megatron for information. And then they're like, in exchange for information, we'll give him dangerous robots. and then they're like, "Bye, Megatron," and then that never mattered.
Well, the only way it mattered is that
It's just the end.
Well, no, in the next scene you see like the army and the Decepticons approach the Autobots, but then all those Decepticons
Just get wrecked.
They all fucking die in that scene,
except for John DiMaggio, who never speaks again.
Well, then he dies eventually, and then it's like they
He
don't.
died?
They all die. Except
No,
Megatron.
but they were different. So they were the ones that morphed into like that giant thing that Optimus like cuts their heads off.
Yeah, those
They
are
were different.
Those are the Quintessa's knights.
Yeah, so where the fuck were Megatron's people during that whole fight?
I forgot
They
what
all
happened
died.
with
They
what
weren't
happened with
shown.
No, they all died.
Who killed them?
The movie killed them.
No, literally, they were not shown. Maybe once.
Guys, wait, we forgot a very what is it? A very prevalent character in this movie, the dragon.
That was actually kind of cool.
Again,
the way it looked.
another thing where it's just
You
like
mean they just dropped it?
It wasn't necessary.
it was like in
but
it for like a minute, like in totality. If you just put all the parts where it's like in a whole minute for the movie.
But they mentioned like the 12 Knights. Maybe I misheard this merging into being that dragon.
Well, yeah, that's
Not-
So
not
wouldn't it make
if
sense
you-
that they resurface later?
Oh, I'd hope so. I mean,
Well, they were in the
the
beginning. and the
Dinobots
end.
came back in this movie.
They were.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
became a dragon in the beginning, and then they came back at the end.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else this movie did wrong, and it's just so hard to.
I actually would have preferred watching an entire movie that took place during King Arthur's time with the Transformers.
I would have loved that. There's an episode in the original show where they actually go back in time, and they are in King Arthur's court.
Honestly, I enjoyed the opening, even though they open the movie at 11, and then they like try and go to 12, and it doesn't work. So they go back to 11, and then it's just kind of like, it's like if you do cocaine and then you try and do more cocaine, but you've already done cocaine, so you're already on cocaine. So you're like, well, I'm already.
This is
feeling
the weirdest
effects of
analogy
this
I've ever heard.
cocaine, so the new cocaine isn't
Uh-huh.
going to do as much for me. That was.
No, I completely understand what you're saying.
They just started. They started at like just balls out, and then they tried to keep it there the whole time, and it was almost exhausting, and it got boring
Yeah.
because they did it the whole time.
That sums up the whole Transformers movie series in a nutshell.
I guess.
Yeah.
But the first one had like, I don't know, probably the first hour was pretty tame.
It was a genuine movie. Granted, it
Yeah.
wasn't the best movie ever, but it had a structure.
Yeah,
Like, it had a genuine structure where you're like...
it had
Even-
pacing.
Yeah, it had pacing.
This one had
It
no
had,
Not only
pacing.
that,
it had story beats. It had a purpose.
Yeah.
It
And
had
the
a
characters were
beginning, middle, and end.
recognizable. Like, you actually remember the names of a lot of the characters that are both Autobots and Decepticons, whereas in every, like, subsequent Transformers movie, I can only name, like, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, and maybe, like, one other person.
Yeah. That's, I think, the biggest problem I have with this franchise is that there are so many characters in this entire universe that have such great characters and personalities, and they're not represented at all. Like Ratchet, the character.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay, he's the medic, the green robot from the first 3 movies, and he dies in the beginning of the 4th one.
Yeah, okay.
So he's one of the biggest. He's like one of the best Transformers. Like, he has a whole history with Optimus. He's like basically like if Optimus had an angry stepdad, that's Ratchet. Like, they have a history together. They're war buddies.
Ratchet and Clank.
No, Ratchet. Ew. Now I'm thinking.
They think Ratchet and Clank.
Okay, we're not
Or-
talking about Ratchet.
Or
and
I
Clank.
think just Ratchet, like a term people use to
Jesus
describe somebody
Christ.
that's trashy.
and I want to live in the universe where when people hear the word Ratchet, they think of Transformers. Because every time I hear some fucking disposable waste of humanity go, oh, that's so Ratchet, I'm just thinking like, God damn, I want to watch
Can you
Transformers.
imagine if the character Ratchet spoke like that?
No, don't give Michael Bay ideas. He'll resurrect the character from the grave and literally bring him just to say that line, and I know he
Apparently,
will.
this is his last song.
He said that 3 fucking times now.
No, but that's supposedly why Mark.
But he said
Wahlberg-
that after the 3rd one,
Well, no,
after the 4th one, and
No,
after
I
the
know,
5th
but
one.
I think this time it might be true because that's why Mark Wahlberg left.
I don't know.
Well, didn't he also say it was too exhausting for him?
That too.
Well,
but
he's not a young guy, but
He's really fit, though.
he's what?
he's very fit. But so
He's
is Tom
like
Cruise.
40s.
That's true.
Like, you can be fairly fit. Like, Stephen Lang is.
No, I understand. When
fairly
you
fit.
age...
Have you seen Josh Brolin getting ready for Deadpool?
Yeah, he's fucking
It was
jacked.
scary.
Yeah.
It was, and he's almost 50.
Yeah.
Almost 50. He looks like he's in his 60s already.
Yeah.
No, he's like 48 or 9.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, he looks a lot older. Terrible to say, but like he looks like he's in his 60s already, or at least mid 50s.
I think he's. Let's see. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, he did get
Watch,
shredded
he's
for
like
cable.
74.
You know who got really
Fucking around.
shredded was J.K. Simmons for Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
I
he's
don't
older.
know why,
I don't know
because
why.
he's wearing a trench coat the whole fucking movie.
He said he did it for himself.
I guess.
I mean, he's always been fit though. Like
I mean, I
if you
would.
saw him in what was that movie called with Miles
Whiplash?
Teller? Yeah, Whiplash. He looked super fit in that too. So
Super fit?
yeah.
I don't remember him like showing off his abs.
49.
No, but he had like huge biceps and stuff. Like when he was yelling at Miles Teller, you would just see
Yeah,
his
no, he was
biceps
scary.
bulging. Yeah.
Anyways,
So-
back to Transformers. What I was trying to say is that there are so many characters in Transformers that are iconic and like meaningful to people who have grew up with the franchise. And this franchise, the movie adaptation, I mean, this movie series, my biggest beef with it is that it just brings in all these characters and either kills them off willy-nilly or just does them terribly.
So the opposite of the MCU.
No, the exact same thing as the DCEU.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it just pisses me off because going back to like why they never talk about the conflict, like they never talk about who these people were when Cybertron was like a thriving society. Like
They never show us.
yeah,
that.
I know. Megatron, like before he was the leader of the Decepticons, like before there were even Autobots and Decepticons, like
Like, why are there two factions?
because
we don't. They don't
there originally never were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
What happened was
they mentioned they used to fight alongside each other.
yeah. Well, I don't know why they said that, but that's not in the at least from the canon that I'm used to.
I
Like,
don't know who they were
originally,
fighting, but-
Megatron was a gladiator warrior, and he was like an entertainer, and he would like fight for people's amusement. And Optimus, well, he had a completely different name. It's escaping me, but he was like the main guy in charge of Cybertron's library. Like that was his job, and then he died, and then like one of the elders of Cybertron brought him back because it's like, oh, you are pure of heart. You are the person who can.
You're right. It is the DCEU. Opposite
Oh,
of
wait.
MCU, DCEU.
Did they
totally the
transform
universe.
into cars on Cybertron?
Yeah, they did transform in Cybertron.
Into cars. So
Not into cars, but into vehicles.
I'd rather see that.
Then you should play the video games.
Honestly,
Play War and Fall for Cybertron because they do the characters so well.
they just
So fucking
well.
well.
What it sounds like is there's so much story
There is
that's
a lot
already
of story.
written.
There is a
Why
lot
do
of
they
story.
need to make up this bullshit?
I don't know. Like the Allspark had nothing. That was made up for the movies. The fucking
Well, they were just like the Tesseract is cool in Marvel. People like giant
no
squares.
Transformers came out before.
It did.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
How old are you?
I don't know, like 7.
Oh shit! But yeah, like the Allspark had nothing to do with it. The government had nothing to do with it originally. I'm trying to think of like what other bullshit did these movies add?
Shia
Shia
LaBeouf. Ah!
Yeah, pretty much. Shia
Well,
LaBeouf
I remember
was in
reading
it.
comic books that came out, Transformers comics that came out before the movie did, that featured Sam Witwicky like as a character, if I remember.
Did they? Well, the whole Wiccan
Yeah.
thing is
Well,
made
And
up.
I don't know about that, but just like the character
The,
Sam
ori-
Witwicky.
the original name of the human character from the cartoon was Spike Witwicky.
Weren't they? Kids?
Yeah. In the
His
comics,
name was-
Spike
his
turned out
name-
to be Sam Witwicky was the name they gave him in the comic.
No,
I
well,
read.
Spike is the original name. They just changed his name to Sam because for
Weren't
some
they-
reason
wait, weren't
Spike is too unnatural of a name for a kid. But a guy being named Cade Yeager is
I know.
a-okay.
It's the most American name.
No, it's the most fucking movie name.
Really, I feel like Spike would make sense for a kid to have. Like
No,
Michael Bay
that's-
could go with like a nickname.
That's what
Like,
boggles my
okay.
mind. Like, why take a name like Spike that's perfectly like
If it's a kid, it works.
pedestrian?
Do you know
But-
any kids named Spike?
No, but it's a
do
nickname.
you know
You know what I
Do you
mean?
know anyone named Cade or Yeager?
That just sounds like a Wolfenstein Nazi villain name.
Exactly.
No. But Toby's onto something here because when you think about it, like a lot of movies, for example, like if you have a young like male character, even a female, just like a teenager, maybe younger, a kid. Sometimes they have little nicknames they give
Yeah.
each other. that kind of that eventually in a way becomes their legitimate name, like what they're known as. So Spike would make sense if that was like just a nickname.
Yeah.
That
Right.
everyone called him.
But even then, like in the cartoon, his just name was Spike. Why did okay? That's like the level of nitpickiness. Where like, well, why do they call like that? Doesn't bother me, but like what boggles my mind is like how they can go about naming someone Cade Yeager and just have it be completely like taking itself seriously.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, he's like the most shallow character. Like, I almost would have preferred if they just got rid of him completely and just had the little girl.
Well, what I want,
I would have preferred that
what
too.
What I want to know is who's gonna be the lead in the next one.
I hope it's a little girl.
I almost want there to not be any humans.
I would love that because that's when Transformers.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. I promise.
I mean, I would want that, but if Michael Bay's leaving, I would love it if they just completely abandoned the human side, because that's what Transformers in its most pure form is, just the Transformers, because that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Like, the human characters are always the least interesting part.
I agree, but it's not something I think they would do.
No,
just
they're
because
not,
they
because-
fear alienating audiences.
Well, unless they get like an all-star voice cast.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
I feel like that's not why people go see cartoons when they see, like, oh, Steve Carell's in this. They're like, oh, it's a movie to make my kid, like, shut up for, like, a couple hours. I mean, that's a whole other subject, but I don't think, like, anyone's seeing this movie because John Goodman and Ken Watanabe are voicing Transformers.
I honestly didn't even... Was John Goodman even credited?
Yeah, John Goodman is the
I don't think
fat
I even know.
robot.
No, I know who he is, and like now that you pointed out,
Right.
but I don't think I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Ken Watanabe had nothing to do.
No, he doesn't do anything in this movie.
They had two scenes of him going, "The anger is gone. I am going to meditate on my sword," twice.
And
they
that-
did it fucking twice.
And then a horse, or not a horse, like a bird or something, like some fucking animal comes, and he's like, "I'll kill you!" It's like, I don't understand your character. Like, you're supposed to be like the stereotypical, like, wise,
Asian
silent,
samurai.
like the
monk ninja warrior.
the monk ninja warrior
Yeah.
stereotype, and then he just like goes all ballistic, and it's I don't
It was
get
supposed
you.
to be a joke. It's
It's funny because like the Asian person is like loud when he's supposed to be quiet.
Yep.
Ain't it funny? I'm a writer.
I got a good chuckle.
I got a good funkle. What else happened in this movie?
Nothing.
They should make a Transformer called Funkle.
There's no plot.
There probably is.
Honestly,
That's a good point. Okay.
There's no plot to this movie. It's just we need to go here because Cogman likes opera with King Arthur. Here's this thing that can crawl on your arm and then somehow turns into a fucking sword.
Didn't it go onto his dick at one point? Where it
Oh
just
my
went to
god,
his
you're
pants?
right. It
It
did.
did.
Go, it crawled down his dick.
No, but the part where I was really, I don't know if you heard.
Because she made a comment. She made
Like,
like a
yeah.
naughty comment or
Ain't
something.
it touching your pee-pee? And then Cogman walks in. Hey, let's have sushi.
Yeah.
Like, what am I fucking watching? Isn't this Transformers?
That didn't hurt him because every time it went on any other part, he'd be like ah, and then when it went down there, he didn't make a sound.
But literally the part that just made my whole nervous system just go "Arr!" was when the talisman turns into a sword and Mark Wahlberg is strong enough to block a fucking Transformers sword from killing Optimus.
Well, he's the last knight.
Shut up!
That's the twist
Why
of
was
the
he
movie.
chosen? What did he do? To
Nothing.
deserve
He
being
did nothing.
chosen?
Nothing.
He did absolutely nothing.
He found.
Wasn't Witwicky the chosen one by their logic in the movie? Because there's a
Yeah.
line of Witwickens or whatever.
he's gone.
But he's the chosen one.
He found the knight in the crash
Is that how they explained
pod
it?
that no one else found.
He found the medallion of the
Oh right,
Cybertron.
because he found he was a chosen one.
Even
So
though
if
no
anyone
one
else found
like,
it.
how long was that fucker sitting in the pod for?
4 movies, I'm assuming.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, can they just leave Chicago alone?
But he was like
Yeah.
wounded and bleeding out. That's years of just bleeding
fucking
out.
finally. I've been here for thousands of years.
How could he have he would
No
have
one opened
died?
my fucking pod!
He would have died by at least the end of the
Well, he
first
had to
movie,
have-
unless
Well,
Transformers
no,
bleed out
he had to have
less
landed
quickly.
after they destroyed Chicago. Because
Okay.
that wouldn't have been there
So the third movie,
in
right?
pre-Chicago. And
Okay.
then no one found him.
Okay, so it's been one movie.
Like, what if
Okay.
it was that fat black kid that was in the beginning and was like, "You, black boy, are the chosen one," and he was like, "Ah, nah, man, I'm too tired for this shit." and then just roll credits, and that would be it.
You know, I wouldn't put it past Michael Bay to make that actually be something
That's definitely a deleted scene.
in this movie. Definitely. I don't know.
I think Robot Chicken was accurate.
Honestly, I'd rather it have. I wish it stuck with like that group of kids in the beginning, and then they meet the girl, and she saves them, and then Marky Mark wasn't even in it. It was just these little kids. They were more compelling than any
that would
of
have
the
been
other
fun.
humans.
That actually would have been a lot of fun.
Well,
it would have been a better movie.
Cartoons, the humans were younger kids.
Yeah, they're like teenagers at the oldest.
Yeah.
And I don't fucking...
we don't need a stupid inventor that doesn't invent things and
Yeah.
hides out in the biggest scrapyard
ever.
in all of fucking Chicago.
In all of fucking Scrapyardicus. The city of Scrapyard.
And that whole subplot with the Native
Ew.
American Indian chief.
That wasn't even a subplot. That was like Michael Bay saying to the audience, see, I'm not racist because I'm calling out my own character for being racist.
The Native American sheriff trope is that's all they do in media. Like TV, movies. If there's a Native American person that is like a slight antagonist, they're usually a sheriff.
Or even like a supporting character, you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy, when you first meet him, you get the sense that he's gonna like fuck everything over, but then at the end...
But he doesn't really do anything in the movie.
Until he's like, they're coming for you!
No, literally the only other scene in the movie is like, hey, stop! And then they just drive past him and you never see him again.
It's a transformer!
It was like the little girl. I forgot the little girl was in the movie until she comes back.
This movie confuses me.
They dressed him like Nathan Drake when they went spelunking, too.
Spelunker.
And I'm so glad that he turned down the role of Nathan Drake.
Who, Michael Bay?
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh.
Michael Bay as Nathan Drake would be disgusting. Are you kidding?
It would just be his dick. His dick would be in the costume.
Can you imagine instead of doing parkour, his dick is kind of like one of Dr. Octopus's tentacles, and it just clings on everything?
Michael Bay's dick? And let's get back to talking about Michael Bay's
His
dick.
cock writes the scripts!
I know.
It's 2 feet long. It also actually
Ew!
That's what it was in the skit. It also, not only that, but it seems to be able to like actually grab onto things clearly as it wrote the script. So it can grab pens, it can hold up cups, it can even pour things.
Pretty sure it's beating a small child to death.
I like how you're pitching this Robot Chicken skit to me like it's historically accurate.
It is.
It is, though.
No, it's not. Penises, let alone
Michael
Bay's penis cannot
Yes,
grab onto things.
Michael Bay sleeps at night and his dick goes, hey, King Arthur. We need King Arthur. IMAX cameras.
Here's the thing, Toby.
Ew.
Aspect ratio!
Here's the thing.
Ah.
It doesn't have to it doesn't have to be factually true to be like Jesus fuck. It doesn't have to be like historically or factually true to be spiritually true.
The
in
fuck
the
does that
spiritual
mean?
sense.
Get that fucking
It's
hippie
true.
shit out of my fucking chest.
Listen, Michael Bay's family, his lineage.
No, like
it's a long line of big cocks.
like he didn't
Shut
literally
the fuck
write
up.
it with his dick, but like
I know!
you know.
Why are we still talking about his dick?
I didn't bring it up. You did.
His dick did!
Okay. What else
Dick
happened
has
in
a
this
lot
movie?
to say about medieval times.
I feel like Cogman was based off of his dick.
Okay, explain that.
It definitely sings opera and can play an organ.
It also cooks sushi. Oh my god.
Michael, I will catch the swordfish for you.
I'm gonna
Can you
throw
imagine slicing sushi with his dick?
This is an authentic Hanzo samurai sword.
What about him Oh.
Okay, let's change the subject.
On guard!
So,
My sword thinks for itself!
there is a rumor that Paramount wants to make a cinematic universe out of Transformers.
Haven't they already?
They kind of made it clear with the ending of this one.
Well, no, I feel like that
What
was...
do you mean by cinematic? They've basically already. in a
Well,
way.
they explicitly... I think that was
Well, now they're
explicitly...
bringing the
You mean
lore.
more spin-offs and lore? Okay,
Yeah, like,
sure.
I think that was explicitly setting up Unicron in the next mainline Transformers movie. But Bumblebee is getting his own movie, like, in the next year or two. And then there are a lot of other spin-offs, like...
Is he going to talk, or is it going to be fucking radio stations going back and forth? for an
Honestly,
entire
the
2 hours?
continuity of this franchise is so fucked. I have no idea.
Bumblebee!
I want to know who the human character is going to be.
All the slow-mo scenes where they yell
Hitler.
Bumblebee.
In the 80s?
Yes.
Wait, can we just actually...
I will watch it. I will watch it.
Can we actually think about this? How many times in the whole series has there been a moment when somebody yells Bumblebee and it's in slow motion?
And it's usually when he's about to die.
That thought gave me immense gas, and I'm really struggling to hold it in.
Yeah, usually it's like, no! And then it slows down and it goes, Bumblebee. And then all of a sudden Bumblebee gets out of it because, I don't know, Optimus shows up or something.
Well, they set up that whole soldier as being like a bad guy at the end. Not Josh, what's his face? The other one who no one cared. The one that looked like Shane from the... Why am I forgetting his name?
John Bernthal.
John Bernthal, but wasn't it? It was Discount John Bernthal.
And then he's like, yeah, Transformers are good. And then just like...
I'm going to rip off my Nazi patch.
Okay.
Run with me. Run or die. In this helicopter. I was like, ew.
Wow. Okay.
Why was also another thing, not that there's any consistency or any factuality in this entire series, but it caught my attention. Why, when they were going up, was Mark Wahlberg and the girl the only ones using the gas mask? You know, like...
with the thin atmosphere?
Yeah, the oxygen mask.
Because them soldiers are strong. USA. USA. USA.
Stop.
This hurts.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I don't know.
So,
why did they include a whole scene where they blow up Nazis?
Just in case you forgot, Bumblebee was fucking awesome.
And then, but they're like, they had that whole thing, and he's like, oh, I thought B was a pretty cool guy. And he's like, no one ever called him a cool guy.
I mean, can you get more patriotic than Michael Bay?
No.
Okay.
Well, they certainly... I'll give them this.
No.
If they want to set up a cinematic universe, they definitely...
They need a universe
first? They do. They have a good universe. They're just not doing anything good with it. But I think they put enough stuff in this movie as someone who knows Transformers to be like, okay, I can see what they're doing. Because, like, for example, the French Autobot, Hot Rod, in the cartoon.
That was they never said his name.
No, they did.
Did they?
Yeah, when they were talking about his accent, they're like, what's your name? He's like, Hot Rod. And we're like, what? Hot Rod. It's like Hot Rod. Hot Rod.
I didn't know what the fuck you were
saying.
I'm assuming he's French in the
no, he's not.
Regular Transformers?
No.
Well, no, and then they're like,
not.
why is he French? And they're like, because he wants to.
It's so fucking stupid. He's not French, but in the cartoon, when Optimus Prime dies, Hot Rod becomes the new leader of the Autobots. So I don't know if they're setting that up. I don't think so.
I highly doubt it.
That would not work in the movie universe.
They'll probably Bumblebee take over.
If Optimus dies ever, which I doubt he will, just for the sake of brand recognition, just so they can have Optimus's face in every single movie. And then they set up all the different Transformer stuff in different time eras, and Bumblebee like doing stuff on Earth.
I just want a movie about the watch that killed Hitler.
Honestly, I would watch it.
I would watch that too.
Honestly, any Transformers movie that takes place in any like prior decade, for example, or just has no people, is immediately better.
The best thing in all of Transformers is I told you guys
there's an animated movie in the 80s that people were
that's the movie with Unicron I was referencing. Okay. But before that, not before, but in general, the best thing in this entire franchise is Beast Wars, which was in the 90s. I think it was the first CGI TV show ever made. And it takes place...
Is it good?
It's a sequel to the original series. Yes, it's very good. It's the only thing I can think of in Transformers that is about character, where they don't introduce new characters to sell toys. Like, it's important to the plot when new characters come in.
I don't know did Hasbro own rights back then?
Hasbro has always owned the rights to Transformers.
Okay. They were first toys before they even had a plot line.
Yeah, they were toys in Japan.
That's right.
They were toys in Japan, then they became a cartoon in America.
Gotcha.
But Beast Wars is a sequel to the old show that it's weird. It's like there's kind of time travel involved where like the descendants of the Autobots and Decepticons, I know this will sound cheesy, but the Maximals and the Predacons, because it's Beast Wars, they're fighting each other, like these two groups, and they get like they travel through like a wormhole that sends them back to prehistoric Earth. So then they are basically stuck on prehistoric Earth, and they transform into animals. So like
I'd much rather
Optimus
see that.
Optimus Prime is a gorilla. Megatron is a Tyrannosaurus
Do they
Rex.
maintain their weird color scheme when they're animals?
Like a blue and red.
Like they're
giant
metallic
gorilla.
animals, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Like eventually, the show progresses where characters like become more powerful, or like they're kind of like they've mutated and like they're not perfect replications. Like for example, Megatron is a T-Rex. He is a purple T-Rex because Megatron is purple. So the T-Rex is just purple.
But that's what I was saying. Do they maintain their color schemes? Like, is Optimus red and blue gorilla?
No, Optimus is a regular color scheme gorilla.
Okay.
Everyone maintains their regular color scheme. Yeah, everyone maintains their regular color scheme. Like there's Pterosaur, who's a pterodactyl, and he's red. He's a red pterodactyl.
Sure.
And then, but it gets really interesting because they.
I'd honestly I'd rather see that.
I agree.
They eventually get into like where some of the characters like are either like fucked up or like they're fusions. So like there's this one character named Silverbolt who's a wolf and an eagle.
So sure you're not talking about Animorphs?
No, I'm not even joking. Silverbolt is a wolf and an eagle. He is a wolf with wings, and then there's Quickstrike, who is a scorpion with a cobra for the tail.
This sounds just so Japanese.
Well, it's not. It was made in America. It is an American. This show won an Emmy.
Who's responsible for this?
What did it win an Emmy for?
Best animation. The animation has not aged considerably well, like relatively, but for its time, it was like the Toy Story for TV. Because like that was a show that like aesthetically wise, like that wasn't attempted before. But the story, I think, like you get past like the first couple episodes of the first season, and you kind of like get who the characters are, and you sort of like get used to like the cheesiness.
What year was it?
What year? This was like in the late 90s. I think it started in 96, 97. And eventually, like, it gets really serious. Like, when characters die, like, it actually means something as opposed to these movies. Like, that's something that also...
They all look the same, and you can't tell who's dying. I didn't even realize that John DiMaggio died.
Yeah. And, like, for example, what makes Transformers great, again, going back to Beast Wars, not only do the characters look different so you recognize them, but they also have distinguished personalities. You know who to like and you know who to hate. And there are even characters who are like deliberate bad guys, but you like them. Like there's a character named Inferno who is a fire ant, but his entire personality is he sees Megatron as the queen of the hive. So he just calls him my queen, and there's like this really bizarre like chemistry between Megatron and Inferno because
I don't like that's kind of gross.
Because Inferno is like,
it feels
as you wish,
sexual.
my queen, and Megatron is like, please stop calling me that.
It feels sexual almost.
It's kind of, and then there's the best character of the entire show is Waspinator. He's another.
Serious?
He's one of
Waspinator.
No, that's it. Not even joking. That's how he sounds. No, he's one of Megatron's troops, and he talks in the third person. And the idea is that every time he thinks he's going to do something right, he either gets crushed or like destroyed, and like in brutal fashion. Like he's like, Waspinator is going to destroy Optimus, and he is going to be Megatron's favorite soldier. And then he like gets put in a conveyor belt and gets crushed and put in like one of those things where like how do you say like they in the junkyard where they turn cars into cubes.
I want to say a trash compactor, but I know that's not what it's called.
Well, but
I know what you mean.
He gets into one of those, and then you just see him slowly crawl away, and he's like, "Oh, this always happens to Waspinator." It's a great show. It's a great show, and I really recommend it. And if there's like another Transformers show, like with these characters, like Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee, Starscream, like all these characters, they're the only shows that I would like. I know this might be a controversial opinion if someone's listening and they are as big of a Transformers fan as I am, but the show Transformers Animated has a very interesting pedigree with fans because it does a lot of strange things. Because like there are episodes where the Transformers go up against human villains, and it's very strange.
How does
the show has a very...
How would they lose?
I agree with that mentality. I don't know why they decided to do it, and those are
it's different. It's different.
Those are definitely the worst episodes of the show. But the idea is that it's very cartoonish in its style, but it does a lot of cool shit with the characters. So like if like Optimus isn't necessarily the leader of the Autobots, he's just the leader of his squad, and there are people who are above him and people that like he looks up to and people that look down on him. And Megatron, like the show starts off with Megatron already dead, and the whole show is like this this I think I can't remember, is he Middle Eastern or is he Indian? Like this scientist guy like finds the damaged head of Megatron, and Megatron was like, "Yeah, I'm one of the good guys, like Optimus Prime. Can you rebuild me so that I can like be back with him?" So like for the entirety of like the first season, he's like manipulating the scientist guy to like rebuild him. And then there's like all this crazy.
That honestly sounds kind of cool.
And there's like this other crazy shit that happens. Like they incorporate.
But there's hierarchy. Like the movies.
Yeah.
It's like who the fuck put Optimus in charge?
Yeah.
Like, who are these people? Like all those side character or the supporting Autobots are literally just one-liners.
Yeah, it bugs me
That's just
because
all they're there.
again, there are so many great characters in this universe that most people like in the mainstream movie-going audience don't know, because Michael Bay has sort of made this facade, not a facade, but like this, I wouldn't know what to call it, just like this bastardization of what Transformers is. And even though like I found this movie to be more enjoyable in an ironic sort of way,
I don't think I could name a single character besides Optimus, Bumblebee, and Megatron.
right. And that's the problem. Like in Transformers, even if I showed you like a couple episodes,
I can name like two more.
yeah, like if I showed you like 2 episodes of Transformers animated or Beast Wars,
Is there a modern show? Transformers cartoon?
There was one that came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah, there's Transformers Prime, but it's okay. It's not great. It's okay. I think like Beast Wars and Transformers animated are the most interesting and the most like they do enough stuff with the formula and enough interesting stuff with the characters where it's like, oh, this is actually really fucking cool.
Well, it sounds like the games fill the void a little bit.
The games are War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron are like prequels.
Those are the ones that are kind of like open environment. You can fly around and shit.
Kind of.
I vaguely remember that.
Like they kind of have that. Like Transformers Devastation.
It's like Uncharted 4, like open space.
Kind of like it's a little more linear than you might think, but it's still they're still very good games, and they do the characters very well. And my God, I wish that fucking studio wasn't like repurposed to make Call of Duty games.
That's what studio is it?
High Moon Studios. All they did was those 2 games and the Deadpool game. They did those 3 games, and then they
just did the Modern Warfare remaster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they only did Transformers, Deadpool, and Activision was like, yeah, you're just going to port Call of Duty games to the 360 and PS3.
To be fair, they did a fantastic job with the remaster.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know. But
Deadpool game is awful.
I don't think I played that. It's just weird hearing Nolan North as Deadpool.
You know when you were talking about how Michael Bay will point out something, like a flaw in the movie, as a way to
say, see,
I'm aware that this is shit.
Yeah, as a way to sideline the mistake. Like,
yeah,
even though we did
up
this,
for it.
Right. Well, the Deadpool game essentially did that exact thing, where the game itself was awful, but because Deadpool would be like, "This game sucks," winks at the camera. They were like, "That makes up for how bad our game is. We intentionally made it bad." And you're like, "Well, he did a great job because it's getting 5 out of 10s everywhere."
Jeez.
Well. That brings us to my final point of inquiry. Speaking of some things out of 10s, if you had to score this, not even like something out of 10, just give it your own like creative rating. I don't know. How would you rate Transformers: The Last Night?
Here's the thing: if I could find, I guess I could do it eventually, but if I could find like an MP4 or like some version of this movie and then just cut out the entire second act and then just have like the 2 hours, like the first act with the girl, and then the end, I'd probably give it like a 6. But because of that whole middle part, I would probably have to give it like a 2.5.
Okay.
But because I actually enjoyed the beginning. I actually thought the beginning was...
It was
good.
Serviceable.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
And the ending was... The ending, I would have liked it more if I hadn't have been burnt out by the entire middle section.
Yeah. I feel like the entire second act being as awful as it was...
Cogman was the only part that I enjoyed because he was retarded.
But just like all the terrible stuff that happens for like the middle hour and a half of the movie.
It's just exposition for an hour.
It ruins any enjoyment to be had in the last in the climax of the movie.
Because that fight, the CGI and the animation in that fight was fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
But I was so burnt out because there's already explosions and there's 2 more car chases and other fights in the middle that I was like, all right, I'm sick of the slow motion, metallic bass sound. So like, if you just cut out, and I love Anthony Hopkins, but if you cut out that whole thing, it would have been so much better.
You cut out his whole character and just give like someone else that, like, if you give Bumblebee that exposition or something like that, the movie wouldn't be very different.
I wish
if you made the little girl like
focus, I would have enjoyed that.
If she was
so
the focus
more.
and she was the last knight, she was the descendant of Merlin, like that would have been more interesting.
Yep.
Instead of like putting all these more characters and like we have to go here, we have to go here. It's like you could have made this an hour and a half, 2 hour long movie that was actually decent.
And they would have made. I mean, this is. I think the last movie made $8 million opening weekend, and this one made like 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, I work at a theater, and it's like a smaller theater, but I think when I had my last shift was like, well, I worked Tuesday. But my Saturday shift, the theater sat 200 people, and only 2 people bought tickets.
Well, I think that's franchise.
Saturday night.
I think people are, even though like people do go to pay for these movies. I mean, we did. Ironically, but we did.
Yeah.
There are people who do go to pay for these movies, specifically people in the international markets. Like China is like
explode in China.
Really makes this franchise what it is. Like I think it made like 100-something million opening weekend.
Well, and that's probably why Mark Wahlberg was there, because he did the Great Wall movie. That was
Matt Damon.
That was Matt Damon?
That was
They're
Matt
all
Damon.
fucking the same. I don't care anymore.
All white people look the same? Huh? You're going to turn this into a racist? Anyways.
Whatever. But it's the same idea. It was made for the Chinese market.
A lot of movies are, unfortunately. And I think...
I don't know why. Why are Chinese people
because
going to see terrible movies?
Because I think they just like their schlocky blockbusters.
You would think that would be Japan, but there's less people there.
Well, Japan are still busy, like, catching up on all of their anime.
I guess so.
And I'll say this about Transformers. There was, I know it's going to sound so stupid, but it was just one thing I forgot to say. The track that plays in the trailer, when it plays in the movie, it was just like one of the pieces of the soundtrack that plays.
Was it score?
Yeah, it was from the movie.
Okay.
So when the one that plays in the trailer, when it plays in the movie, it was like, that's some good music. It's like, I just thought like the Transformers movies like have, if nothing else, have had some serviceable music.
Well, it's like I'm not 100% sure on this, but the guy that did the score for Baby Driver, not the licensed songs, but the score, also did the score for Suicide Squad, and both of those movies have good score, but you would never notice it because they show. I mean, Baby Driver is great, but with Suicide Squad and I guess Transformers didn't really have licensed tracks, but like. You don't usually notice the score, and that's like usually a sign that it's a good score.
Yeah. I'll say this. This is the first Transformers movie since the first one where I can honestly say the pieces are there where I can put them together and say there's a good movie here. I couldn't do that with the second, third, or fourth one.
The rest are trash.
But I was like, if you just move around a couple things, this movie would be improved so much more.
Yeah, we need an ultimate cut.
I think I wouldn't mind it. Like, there are people who have cut the entire prequel trilogy of Star Wars into one mega movie.
Yeah.
They did that with, like, Suicide Squad and the Hobbit movies, too.
Yeah,
like,
I
wouldn't mind that.
I messaged the guy that just did the Suicide Squad ultimate cut, and I'm wondering if he sent me a copy. But, like, that sounded actually really interesting, because he took out all the licensed songs.
I would be interested to
He
see
reordered it. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
I think the biggest problem Transformers has is that they don't really care about their continuity, and they don't care about explaining any concept or story idea brought up to a point where
it's just set piece.
Yeah, it is a very corporate-driven product, and it's a shame because there's, again, especially
based on what you've said, it doesn't have to be.
But again, especially like as someone who loves Transformers, and has seen this movie, I can say like there were pieces here to make an okay Transformers movie.
Yeah.
But you can't say that about the last three. And the first one, I can honestly say, is like it is as good of a Transformers movie as we'll get for now.
It's like a 6 out of 10.
Like this, it's a decent movie. I'm gonna give it like a 40%. I don't know.
40%.
40% out of 101. I don't know.
Sure, I am gonna give it. I'm gonna give it 2 screws out of 10 screws.
I like the screws. I like it.
Yeah.
I thought first act, more like not even first act to be real with you, almost. It was like the first 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, you can tell when the screenwriter was just like, "Fuck this," and they got
check if there are multiple writers for this movie.
Yeah, there has to be.
Because the first like half hour was like, I was actually surprised. I found myself enjoying the movie, and I was like, wow, maybe this is going to be good. Like I was almost ashamed about how much I was enjoying it. You know, no, genuinely,
No,
I was like, I'm enjoying this. What's wrong with me? And then all of a sudden, as soon as we got to that point where they introduced like the main female lead, and then that like rapper hip hop b-boy Transformer showed up.
Anthony Hopkins
showed up. Yeah, as soon as that happened, I immediately remembered why I hate this franchise.
Yeah.
And from then on, it stayed that way. Like Cogman or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The thing about him is like he's funny, and we enjoy him for humor, but we're not even necessarily laughing
at him. We're not laughing with him. We're laughing at him.
We're laughing at him, even though they're trying to make him funny. And I just feel like this movie fails at nearly every attempt to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it might mention something that a Transformers fan might enjoy, but those instances are short and so minimal.
Yeah.
I feel like they almost insult a Transformer fan with how poorly they handle a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I would say that about the other movies. I feel like this was the first one. This is the first film in this franchise where, as a Transformers fan, I was less offended because there was like stuff that vaguely resembled.
What was the point of Nemesis Prime if he was there for 5 seconds and then?
I thought that would be a much bigger part.
Okay, Nemesis Prime. I'll talk about this and then we'll probably wrap it up. But Nemesis Prime in the lore is basically Venom to Spider-Man, like that equivalent. Like,
so it's another Optimus. It's another Optimus.
Nemesis Prime is supposed to be another Optimus. Like, depending on the continuity, he's either like a clone, or my favorite version of him, ironically, is from that show I said was okay, Transformers Prime, where like an evil military faction rebuilds like from parts of dead Transformers, like an evil Optimus Prime, as like a mind-controlled Transformer, and they call him Nemesis Prime. And
see, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And
they
frankly,
had that set up. The JRF or JTF could have done
the TRF, but it doesn't matter.
Whatever. Could have done that in this movie.
I honestly thought, not to talk about the fourth one, but when I saw the trailers,
I don't even remember.
And like they made like they were talking about making their own Transformers, and you see the truck that apparently turned out to be Galvatron, who was Megatron. But then they call him Megatron in this one.
Don't forget the Bud Light truck where Marky Mark literally grabs a beer.
Oh, that was hot.
Product placement.
And like literally holds it out in front of the camera.
Sony has no shame with product placement.
This is Paramount.
They're also pretty
What is
bad.
going on?
Again, like it is.
Oh, because Sony did Baby Driver. That's why I was thinking Sony.
Sony is Spider-Man and Ghostbusters.
That's right, yeah.
Paramount is Transformers.
G.I. Joe, they also did.
Yeah.
So guess how many writers?
How much? How many? Sorry.
7. but 3 did the screenplay and 4 did the story. Still, that's way too many. But like,
wow.
Baby Driver had a writer and director, and that's why it was cohesive.
Well,
this did not.
I wish more movies would just have a single vision as opposed to multiple corporate infused visions. But until that day,
it's just not going to happen.
Until that day, we're not going to get a Transformers movie.
Well, that's just
a good Transformers movie.
The nature of a blockbuster is that's just how it's going to be. It's not going to be
what appeals to the kiddies.
Yeah, basically. Anyways, this is
a lot of kids fell asleep when I was at work, and I had to go
Don't
bring
call
shit.
me a kid.
No, I'm fuck you. A lot of like young kids that you would think would be like, "Oh my god, it's Optimus!" They like were when I walked in to like clean shit, they were literally asleep.
I've never had an easier time falling asleep to a movie than I had with Transformers. Honestly,
I was falling asleep too. I've fallen asleep in a theater.
I've never fallen asleep.
I fell asleep because when The Force Awakens came out, I saw it 2 times. We saw it 2 times.
Yeah, we fell asleep.
And the second time we saw it, we were like, "Yeah, it was a great movie. Let's see it again right now." And then, as we were watching it, I fell asleep like 10 minutes in.
I tried watching it.
We woke up at the very end.
Yeah, I woke up in the scene when like the Starkiller base is blowing up multiple planets.
I've only seen that movie once. I tried watching it a second time, and I just couldn't do it. I don't know why.
It's good. It's still good the second time, but I think what happened for us is we saw it literally right after we saw it the
this
first
was
time.
months later, and I was like,
All right. Anyways, let's wrap this up because we clearly are
Transformers.
We want to move past Transformers: The Last Night.
Transformers is disgusting.
Absolutely. Well, these movies.
Enough said.
These movies.
Go watch Beast Wars or Transformers Animated. This is Schmucks of the Galaxy signing out. Thank you for listening. And just watch Beast Wars, okay?